Gareth, congratulations on your new deal. You must be very happy with this news.
Yeah, very happy. Nice to finally be able to get it over the line. Really happy of being able to commit to the club for another season, which is a season I'm really going to be excited about.
The conversations that you've had with the club then leading up to this signing, give us a flavour of what they were like and why that made you take the decision to commit for longer.
Well, I think it was obviously I came in a period in COVID which was quite difficult. Obviously Nick was leaving to go to New York, and there was that period of games when Nick left and Alan took the reins, and basically the season went into lockdown, and it was a difficult moment. I think certainly coming in at that point allowed myself time to kind of see where we were at. And I'm really fortunate that I was working in the academy really close to the women's team as well. So I had a real good understanding of where the team was at, where the club was at, and what potentially was needed to move forward. And, that period gave me a lot of time to be able to review things, and it was probably the only pre-season we've had. That was really difficult, working with small groups, but I think it was, since then, it's been pretty full on with Olympics and Euros, and now we obviously go into a World Cup. But I think there's been a transitional period, no doubt, with players, and I think the women's game's changed a hell of a lot, and that's dictated probably a lot of movement between players with their contracts, etc. So I think it's now a case of trying to build for the future, trying to really work at the things we do super well. And yeah, I've really enjoyed my time so far, and particularly this season, albeit we came up short with no trophies. I felt that this season was really enjoyable in terms of where the team is at and where I think potentially that they can go.
You were obviously a City player in your playing days. You just mentioned there you've got a connection to the academy from when you were academy coach, and now obviously you're the women's team manager. Talk us through your connection to the club and the strength of feeling that you have with Manchester City now.
Well, I think it's something that has grown and developed over a number of years now. I think I'm probably edging over 15 years in total service of being an academy coach, women's team manager, and a former player. And it's something that fills me with great pride. And I also feel really fortunate to be able to work at such a great club. I think, obviously, when I played for the club in the late 90s, it was a different type of club, but it was I wouldn't necessarily say it was a sleeping giant, but I think the potential of the club was for all there to see. We were in League One. We were struggling. If I'm honest, I arrived in December '98, and crowds were massive, in terms of every home game was huge, 34,000 at Main Road. And then obviously every away game felt like a home game. And there was incredible pressure on us players. And, we had to not just win, but we had to win well. And we were rightfully told when we didn't, because the club felt we shouldn't be here, but we were there. And it was a great period. I really enjoyed that time there. Some real good personalities and characters in the dressing room, and I think lots of honesty, lots of honest, hard-working lads who fortunately got back-to-back promotions and got us up into the Premier League at that time, which was a great achievement. And then obviously over the years you've seen how the club's developed, and obviously moving here to CFA was a big thing after moving from Platt Lane, and seeing how the club's grown I've been really fortunate to see that real transition, and like I say, I feel really fortunate to have been here and worked with some unbelievable people, who are still here, some of them, and some that have moved on.
You talk about the growth of the women's game there briefly. That was exemplified by the fact that we've employed 𝘵𝑦𝑙𝑠 as director of football. How are you viewing your working relationship with him, and kind of what conversations have you had about next season and the development and building that we can do?
Yeah, it's been great. 𝘵𝑦𝑙𝑠 has been a real key figure for us. We've had to, obviously the timing of 𝘵𝑦𝑙𝑠 arriving when the season was finishing was, ideally we would like to have had him a bit sooner, but I think now what it allows us to do is to really concentrate on the things we do really well and the things that potentially we need to look at to try and strengthen. So the conversations have been pretty much daily, and we talk about all sorts of things, from the staffing setup, from the player setup in terms of what we have, what we feel we might need, the academy, as well, because obviously we've got some talented players at that level as well, and it's how we try to get the best from them and try and integrate them into the first team setup where possible. So yeah, huge conversations with Niels, and he's been great in that respect of just allowing me to try and focus as much as I can on the team alone, and he's trying to deal with all of the other bits that allows me to be able to do that.
So that's a vitally important role that he's playing, isn't it? And I presume you think that will allow you to do even better work, because he'll be taking a certain section and it leaves you just to focus on the coaching side and the playing side. Yeah,
it's a huge thing to be able to just concentrate solely on the team and what I feel we need, and to concentrate on the training pitch, which is where I feel I'm at my best. I think the change in the women's game has been huge. When I think about that first season and where we were in terms of as an organisation to where we are now, I think is miles away. And I think that's testament to the club that, there's an understanding, there's a rationale for that support, and it's something that we want and really need to be at the forefront and to be constantly pushing in all of the competitions. And yeah, I think Niels coming in has helped us with that. With his expertise, he's got really good experience of being at the top level, managing international teams, and his club experience as well. But more than that, I think he's a really good guy. I think he's a really good person to work with, and when you have that, you have a real chance.
It's not just your contract we've extended. There's been a number of our players whose contracts we've extended as well. As a manager, that kind of stability, what does that mean to a manager?
I think it's something that most head coaches will talk about being really important for success. I think it's no secret that most successful head coaches or organisations that you've seen have had continuity. And I think, working with the same coach, working with the same players, there'll always be comings and goings. There's no doubt about that. That's constant evolution. But I think, most of the success you've seen from top head coaches has been where they've been given a sustained period of time. Now, that's really difficult because everybody wants success at the drop of a hat these days. And, sometimes the measurement of success is not always by trophies. We were fortunate, or I was fortunate with this club to win trophies in each of my first 2 seasons. We haven't been that successful this season, but actually some of the pride that I take in the season comes from different forms other than trophies. Of course, at the end of the day, I'm not daft that I know that you're going to be judged on those titles, and I think that's the exciting part. I enjoy that pressure. I enjoy being thrust into having to deliver. I think that's something that I've always challenged myself with, and no change from becoming now a coach, where I really want to try and squeeze every single last drop out of what I feel I'm able to do.
What do you think we need to do then to be successful again next season?
Well, I think it's fine margins. I think, when you look at the season as a whole, in terms of coming up a little bit short, if you look at the quarterfinals of the FA Cup, we were there to the quarterfinals, should have won the game away at Villa, but came up against a good Aston Villa team who have obviously really improved this season. And sometimes on the day, it doesn't quite go for you, especially in the cup competitions. I think the Conti Cup, we lose in extra time, just as it looks about the game as a go to penalties after playing really well that evening. And then the league, we made a difficult start. We came back and went unbeaten from pretty much September all the way through till March, and then suffered a little bit with a couple of players missing at the vital times and vital periods at the last kind of stretch of the season. And yeah, I think it's fine margins, and I think this group of players have the ability to be able to turn those nearly moments into actual moments. I think with our support and our help, with those extra things that we're looking to add in personnel, particularly with staffing, I think has been important, because I think that's what will get us to the next level for sure.
It was quite a high turnover of players last year, but I think as a fan, one of the exciting things watching is the way you've moulded a young squad into a winning team, a team who can string results together. How exciting is the kind of the age and the youthfulness of this squad for a manager like yourself?
Well, I think it's great, because usually with young players you get real engagement of learning, and that's where I probably spent a large part of my coaching career has been in the academy, working with young players, seeing how everyone's different. Everyone needs to be treated potentially differently rather than the old days of one size kind of fits all. I think it's been great that, you know, the evolution of coaching is now that how do you get the very best out of individuals? And the young players are ones that normally engage, you know, they're really hungry to learn. And I think we have that now. I think, you know, we've got some real good young talented players in there, players that I think will be better for the experiences that they've had in their young careers. And certainly we're hoping to see that next season. I think when you look at the likes of 𝘵𝘦𝘢𝘮, she's still relatively a young player. Lauren Hemp's still a young player. 𝘧𝘬, exciting young talent coming through like Mary Fowler, Jess Park, who's, you know, really good player who's gone out and had a really good loan at Everton this season. So, you know, you're hoping that with that extra development that they've had, you know, whether that be out on loan or whether that be working here, Mary Fowler as an example, working behind 𝘵𝘦𝘢𝘮, we feel that hopefully stands them in good stead for the coming seasons.
Do you think we'll have a busy summer in terms of transfer activity?
I don't think it'd be super busy. I think it's many of the things we've spoken about already is where we're at as a group and how close we've been. What excites me more is the fact that coming back in pre-season, completely different to the beginning of last season, you know, and transitioning, you know, a lot of players out and then on to bring a lot of players in, not being given too much time before the season starts. That was a really difficult moment, and that would be difficult for most teams, and that is usually what can happen to most teams. But I think here we've got a settled group where there might be some tweaking here or there in slight positions, but I think relatively we will be as we were, and I think that's a real positive because, again, you're not having to start afresh with new players. We've got a good young group of players coupled with good experienced players with the likes of Demi, with Steph, Laura Coombs. I think it's exciting times, and I think it gives you a real opportunity there to hit the ground running with this group of players.
And finally, whenever we talk to one of the women's team players, they all talk about this being the best dressing room that they've experienced, and it seems like a very tight-knit group. How proud are you of the role you've played in kind of forging that strength of feeling across this squad?
Well, I think it's an important thing now. I think if there's respect and values in the dressing room, that, you know, that makes you really pleased because that gives you an opportunity. And going back to my playing days and certainly the dressing room we had here at City at that time in 98, 99, we didn't necessarily have any real superstars in there, but we had real grounded people who wanted to work hard for each other. And that's really good to hear. But I think it doesn't just obviously come from me. I'm a small part in that. The players, the personalities that we recruited are really key within that. The staff and all of the players are really important in that space, that they feel that they can be themselves, that they can be heard, which I think is important in this day and age. And they feel that they can be the best versions of themselves.
Gareth, congratulations on your new deal and good luck for next season as well.
Thanks, Rob.
Thanks very much.